The pyramids were not built under a republic. The Great Wall of China was not built under a democracy. We're going to talk today about democracy. Is it really the most efficient form of social control? Now, you may have been conditioned, like me, through the American school system to have an almost knee-jerk reaction towards anything that is not the standard capitalist democratic society. I'm going to ask you to put aside that kind of knee-jerk reaction and attempt to just view the systems of social control as exactly that, systems of social control that we have no emotional buy-in. So let's go ahead and look at, is democracy really efficient? Well, in a democratic system, like in the US, we have an election cycle every 4 years. The cost of that election cycle is astronomical. According to Statista, the 2020 election cost $14 billion alone, and that's just every 4 years. Not only is it bad in the cyclical sense that it costs money every 4 to 8 years, but we also have a historic movement from left to right, Republican to Democrat, back to Republican, back to Democrat. As we go back and forth through this, what ends up happening is one party will try to implement long-term lasting change, such as the Affordable Care Act, and spend a massive amount of time and resources doing it, just to have the other party spend a massive amount of time and resources in undoing what the last party just tried to do, such as trying to undo the Affordable Care Act. And this happens time and time again, so we never get true forward momentum because we're constantly flip-flopping and spending resources basically going in a circle. According to Susan Rose Ackerman in her peer-reviewed paper, Inefficiency and Re-election, projects are also short-term to increase the likelihood of re-election. This can be road and infrastructure projects, or it could be something like, according to Belfast Telegraph's Eric Wall in Ireland, they have flood control projects that are being hampered by the election cycles because politicians want a short-term project to maximize their chance for re-election. If they're in a 10-year project, but they get reelected every 4 years, it's likely that they'll be voted out because they can't show that, hey, I didn't finish this project. So we have short-term projects. Well, what about these long-term, long-lasting projects that we've had in the past? Just in the WPA, which was according to Andrea Stone on behalf of the Smithsonian, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, he came up with this plan, the New Deal. And the WPA, which was the Works Progress Administration, they did 40,000 schools, 2,500 hospitals, 1,000 libraries, 15,000 recreational buildings, 1,000 airports. I mean, and it goes on, like 2,700 firehouses. It was 1,200 skating rinks, 640,000 miles of roads, 1,000 tunnels, 1 million miles of sidewalks, curbs, and street lighting. All this was done under FDR. So I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, well, if we can do this in the American system, then there's not a problem. Except FDR was elected 4 times in office. FDR had 4 terms back to back, and he didn't complete his 4th term. He died during it, but he won the 4th term. That means he had at least 12, 13 years to implement these long-term projects. It was after FDR that the 22nd Amendment was passed in 1951 that limited the amount of electoral cycles to 2. All of a sudden now, all of this infrastructure, and again, according to that Andrea Stone, who was writing on behalf of the Smithsonian, over 60% of our current infrastructure was built during the New Deal, during FDR. And it's crumbling now, but we haven't been able to renew it because we have, again, 2-term leaders at most. And once these leaders get out, the next leader, again, like we talked earlier, constantly tries to go in and redo or trash what the other leaders were building. We need long-term leaders with long-term goals in order to move society forward. So if not democracy, what? Now, I'm not saying that enlightened despotism is the way. For every Marcus Aurelius, along comes a Commodus. Marcus Aurelius, a philosopher emperor of Rome, and then his son Commodus, who literally was what the movie Gladiator was based off of. This guy had like 500 gladiator fights that amazingly he all won, and he went nuts and was eventually strangled to death in his bathtub. So no, I'm not saying that enlightened despotism is it, but maybe we need to rethink that our form of democratic control is the best, or of social control is the best. Maybe we need longer election cycles, 10 years in office. Or maybe we need no term limits. so that we can have something like Germany has. Look at Angela Merkel. She's able to serve a back to back to back and have long-term lasting change. I know this is a big pill to swallow. We are conditioned to believe that our current form is the best form. All I'm asking is that you think that change is possible in our current democratic system. Thank you.